Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jake Reynes, and I'm here today to talk to you about this cool vectorization technique when it comes to creating your hand-lettered vectors in Illustrator. Now, this is a technique that I did not invent. It is something that I have seen other lettering artists that I look up to do, and I figured I would create a tutorial about it because it was a resource that I wish I had available when I first started vectorizing my hand lettering. So jumping right in, I'm in Illustrator right now, and I have this base layer as a guide. This is a cursive L that I've sketched out. I'm going to be using as an example today. Now, I'm not going to vectorize the whole thing and bore you with that, but I just kind of want to show you what inspires this technique. Now, if I was to trace this out with my pen tool, I would start plotting my curves. And the part that I want to talk most about today is where these points transform from a curve to a point, like an actual corner. So if I was to, continue plotting this out, I may put one here, here, and here, and I would start pulling out my handles, and that may look something like this. And then I'd want to pull that up, but then I had to pull this back in so that this is a point. This comes to a corner, and then this is a curve. I'd continue pulling these. I had to tweak them. And then so on over here. So you get the idea. I've actually already traced this out, and that's the example I'll talk about now. So if you look at the one over on the right here, this was done using the technique that I was just doing, where I have my point, my anchor comes to a point here through this curve and then continues on over here, and then I'm doing the same thing up in this area as well. Now, the actual technique that I want to show you is a little bit different. And what you'll see is that I have this point, and then instead of coming to this little curve here, this corner here, same thing up here, what I'm doing instead is I'm having this anchor overextend where that point goes, or where that point would be. And then I'm actually creating an additional point here, again, outside of my letter form, and that is continuing on to the point that the letter form is made up out of. So this does two things here. One, it makes your plotting a little bit easier because you don't need to constantly finagle that handle that would be right here to get the point or the corner just right. So that's one thing. And then what it also does is it also allows you to capture this more gestural expression, which is something that you should really be striving for with your hand letters because you don't want them to look like a rigid computer generated letter form. So it actually allows you to, kind of capture more of like this human expression, which we can see down here. This may not be the best example because this isn't a complex lettering piece, but this is something you'll definitely see shine more when you have a more complex lettering piece. But what I would do to finish this off is I'm just going to switch over the fill to a stroke, and then I'm going to use my Pathfinder Unite tool just to make them one solid shape. Now, if you're doing it this way, the original way, on the right side, you'd be done here. But you want to get rid of these little ugly points that you created by overshooting those lines. So I'm going to select them with my hollow arrow tool, and I'm just going to delete them. So yeah, then you're all set. And what you'll see different here is this is kind of more of a wonky curve, and this is a little bit less obvious up here, but this curve is also just looks a little bit unnatural, whereas this one is nice and smooth. And yeah, again, not the best example perhaps, but like I said, when you're going to be working on a more complex composition, this definitely comes through. So again, captures gesture really nicely, and I find it to be much easier than plotting that little corner and pulling that curve over and over again just to get it right. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments, please feel free to share. And if you want to support, just go over to jakereynes.com, sign up for the newsletter. I send weekly content out with cool resources and information about all things hand lettering. All right. Well, thank you very much. Have a good day.